This is Musicably Podcast.
Welcome to the Musicably Podcast. Today I want to tell you about something I saw recently that stopped me mid-step. I was walking through a building when I heard beautiful singing coming from behind the door to the stairs. Two young women singing on a staircase. Not humming casually, actually singing. Old music, something from the 17th century, their voices woven together with real precision. Years of serious training, clearly. But what stopped me wasn't only their skill, it was the sound of the space around them. Every phrase they sang lingered in the air just a little longer than it should have. Their voices came back richer, rounder, larger than two human throats could produce on their own. They weren't just singing in that space, they were singing with it. And here is the thing. They had chosen that spot deliberately. They knew exactly what they were doing. Today I want to talk about why that matters. For them, for you, and for every human being who has ever hummed in a bathroom and thought,
Why does my voice sound so much better in here?
let me clear something up because it changes everything. A reverberant space does not improve your voice, it reveals it. Your voice already contains overtones. These are the complex higher frequencies that right above the note you are actually singing, and they give your voice its color, its warmth, its personality. But in a typical modern room, with carpet, soft furniture, acoustic ceiling, tiles, those overtones die almost instantly. The room absorbs them before you can even hear them. What you are left with is a thin version of what your voice actually produces. Hard, reflective surfaces do the opposite. Stone, tile, brick, plaster, glass, they bounce sound back rather than swallowing it. And suddenly, the overtones you never normally hear are lingering in the air around you. You hear yourself more completely. The room isn't adding something that wasn't there, it's simply letting what was always there to be heard. Some spaces go even further. Certain rooms have resonant frequencies that amplify specific pitches, so the room itself seems to respond when you hit a particular note. Cathedral architects understood this for centuries. The music written for those spaces wasn't fighting the acoustic, it was written for it. The building was always part of the instrument. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. Since the 1980s, researchers studying Paleolithic cave art have noticed a remarkable pattern. When they mapped the locations of cave paintings and compared them with acoustic measurements of the same caves, something kept appearing. The most resonant spots, where sound lingered longest, where low frequencies filled the body as much as the ears, those were precisely where the paintings were concentrated. The more acoustically alive a section of cave, the more likely it was to be covered in images. Researchers are careful not to overstate this. The association is strong but not absolute. But the probability points clearly in one direction. Our ancestors were choosing those spots deliberately. Sound, image, and ritual were not separate things. The cave was a multisensory space, and its acoustic richness was part of what made it sacred. Think about what that means. When you step into a stone church and feel your voice expand around you, you are participating in an instinct that is at least 50,000 years old. The staircase those two young women chose, your bathroom, the underpass you walked through last week and instinctively hummed in. All of it is the same ancient recognition. This space sings back. Modern construction is acoustically efficient and musically dead. This isn't anyone's fault exactly. The drive toward acoustic dampening is entirely rational for its intended purpose. Offices need speech clarity. Classrooms need to minimize distraction. The materials that achieve this carpet, plasterboard, soft furnishings, acoustic tiles are excellent at absorbing sound and catastrophic for anyone who wants to sing. The result is that most people spend their entire lives in spaces that return nothing when they vocalize. Their voice goes out and disappears. They hear a thin, flat version of what they produce, and they draw the obvious conclusion: my voice is thin and flat. The room has been lying to them for decades. And here is the confession buried in every studio reverb plugin, every karaoke machine, every speaker with an echo setting. The music industry spent a century building a technology to recreate artificially what stone and tile and cave walls provide for free. All of it, every reverb effect you have ever heard, is an attempt to sell back to you what your bathroom already offers at no charge. The wellness dimension of this is real and worth taking seriously. When you vocalize in a reverberant space, three things happen almost simultaneously. First, you hear yourself more richly, and that auditory reward triggers a genuine neurological response. The pleasure you feel is not imagined. It is real and it is neurological. Second, when you sustain a note long enough to enjoy its decay in a resonant room, you are naturally breathing more deeply and more slowly. That activates the calming branch of your nervous system. Heart rate slows. The body settles. This is documented physiology, not wishful thinking. Third, in spaces with strong low-frequency resonance, the experience goes beyond hearing entirely. The sound is felt in the chest, in the bones. Your ancestors in those caves were not only listening to each other, they were being held by the space itself. In many ancient traditions, the boundary between music, ritual, and healing was not a boundary at all. They were the same thing, practiced in the same resonant spaces for the same fundamental human reasons. We are only now, with neuroscience and acoustic engineering, beginning to measure what our ancestors apparently already knew. So, where do you find your space? You do not need a cathedral. You do not need a cave. Reverberant spaces are scattered through ordinary life, and once you start looking for them, you will find them everywhere. The most obvious is your bathroom. Close the door and simply hum, or better, vocalize something like "na." Sustain a single note and listen to what the room does with it. Move the pitch up and down slowly until you find the frequency the room seems to like best. You will know it when you find it, the note where the room suddenly blooms around you. The stairwell in any older building, particularly one with stone, tile, or a high ceiling, works beautifully. Hum, whistle, sing a single phrase. You are doing exactly what those two young women were doing, and exactly what humans have done in resonant spaces for as long as we have been human. A stone church or old public building. Many are open during the day. You don't need to be religious or affiliated. Sit quietly and then very softly, almost under your breath, sustain a single tone. Let the room respond. And don't overlook the underpass, the parking garage, the empty gymnasium. The acoustic does not care about the building's intended purpose. If it reflects sound, it will reveal your voice. Start with one note. Hold it. Listen to what comes back. You are not rehearsing, you are not preparing for anything. You are simply reminding your body of something it already knows. The room has been waiting to sing back to you for a very long time. Thank you for listening. I'm Palo. This is Musicably. Music is your birthright. See you next week.